Hey there guys, and welcome to another Factorio video. Today we are going to be doing a tour of a very cool and unique factory. Some of you may recognize this from the Reddit or my Reddit weekly video where I looked at this on the subreddit for Factorio. And people kind of wanted to see it closer, and actually the creator of this, Golga, as you can see here, we are actually his character because this is his save game, kind of wondered if I was going to take a closer look, and I am indeed, because this is an absolutely amazing factory. So this is a 6,000 science pack per minute, completely rotationally symmetrical factory in pretty much every aspect. And anybody who is kind of like OCD about stuff in the game is going to absolutely love this factory. Even anyone who's not is going to love this, because the amount of detail and just precision put into this is mind-blowing. All right, this is probably one of the most impressive factories I've ever seen. Literally everything is symmetrical. Everything is just, it's perfect. So we're in the very middle here where we have the some of the nuclear processing. You can see here we have the miners going, and then they're beaconed, and we have processing going here. And it kind of goes around and is kind of filtered out and such, and then sent out. The fuel cells are just made here, and they're sent out in all in these several directions here, and then empty fuel cells come in. So let's look at this on the map. Look at this beast. Oh my gosh, it's ridiculous, isn't it? So we have these patterns on the concrete, which I think is pretty cool. And like I said, everything here is symmetrical, rotationally symmetrical. I mean, when you look at it, you'll just notice right off the bat, everything matches on every single side. You could turn it whatever way you want, and it's all going to be the same. Now, they did spawn in ore patches and resources. I don't think that takes away from this at all, because the focus is on the base, not the actual resource gathering necessarily. These are just pretty much infinite. They're square and stuff, but that doesn't really matter. The train, everything here, this is all vanilla. To my knowledge, when I loaded the save, it didn't say it was missing any mods or anything. So they probably just used some commands to spawn these in, which is fine. And even the outposts, even these outposts pretty much are symmetrical for the most part, you can see over here. So 6,000 science packs a minute. This is a belt base. So we have rail, and I'm gonna like physically go around and look at stuff too, but a lot of it's easier on the map view. So we have these outposts, of course, that come in, stackers. Now the base is currently off, so we're running at 60-60. I'm gonna turn the base on here in a minute, so we can see some research being done, as well as the UPS will probably drop. So we have some pretty crazy looking junctions here. This is a really intricate, kind of crazy four-way junction, and again, every single corner has the same thing. And they come in, so if we start like here, and again, just remember this is the same on every side, so I'm not going to show every single side because they're literally all identical, which is part of what makes this so cool. So here we have some oil processing, and just keep in mind that this is essentially times 4, because it's this corner and then plus the 3 other corners. So here we have the oil production. We have some 242 oil, and they have nicely colored all the locomotives and such. They are doing double-headed trains, but it looks like they are also doing loops as well, kind of, or pull through, which is totally fine. I think that's actually a pretty good way to do it. They're pumping it out. This is like a 300 megabyte save. This is why this is taking so long to autosave. In fact, to avoid that in the future, I'm going to just quickly turn off. I'm just going to make the autosave like a ton. Okay, so there we go. Okay, so down here we have this, and it processes oil, and you can see here we then have cracking, tons and tons of cracking. There's kind of different beacon builds here. There's like this looks to be like a 12 beacon build. These are just standard 8 beacon builds. Some direct insertion of solid fuel into rocket fuel, which is definitely a good way to do it for sure. Since the rocket fuel takes 30 solid fuel. So there's 2 rows of this with the tanks in here, pumps. Everything is very nicely done. Just everything about this is so like OCD friendly, I guess is a good way to say it. just because it's just like perfect. And you're gonna love this when I show you the power grid too. But so we have all the rocket fuel coming up, and this goes several directions. It goes here and up to here to fuel trains, and all the way through. Essentially, this just goes a straight line, which is actually a really ingenious way of doing it, because everything is lined up and symmetrical. You can literally just split it off and then just draw a line straight up the entire side to fuel the trains. And then of course the same applies just down to these trains. And then the rest of it actually goes off this direction into the past all this through here all the way towards these silos. At some point it actually merges with some more and goes up. Where is this actually going? This guy goes all the way up. I think just all the way around, honestly. Yeah, this kind of just goes all the way around because we have silos in several spots. We have silos, of course, here, and then we have one up here, one over here, and one down here, for a total of 8 silos. And the reason for this, it is a 6,000 science pack per minute base, but rockets don't quite launch once a minute, so doing the extras is kind of needed. And then if you want, you can kind of control them with circuit stuff, which it looks like he's doing a little bit based on belts and such here with these satellites potentially. Okay, so we have all the oil, and then again on all sides we have some iron smelting here. Trains come in. It looks like all the trains are fairly standard 242s here, and then we have copper and then iron and then copper, and it kind of just varies. And then we have brick and steel. This is actually a very, very tight, nice looking steel build. Something I probably would not have thought of myself. This is actually a really nice build, 8 beaconed. So we have several steel builds here, more iron, and then again it's just going to alternate back the way it was. Iron, copper, iron, steel, and then steel and copper, and so on. Basically just exactly what we looked at. And then we're back to oil again, you know, facing the other direction. So there's that. Now the belts, this bus is kind of ridiculous. Let's actually head out here physically. In this whole middle part, this whole thing is the power. This is all run on nuclear power. As you can see, it's currently taking 20 gigawatts. This is idle. Nothing is running at the moment. And like I said, I will turn on research, but it's gonna, if the UPS goes down, it's gonna slow our movement speed and stuff to look around. So I'm gonna keep it off for a minute. And on these sides here, we have labs. So on this side, we have just a massive chain of labs that goes up. And then of course, on all 4 sides, it's exactly the same. And this is kind of really cool how they're doing this, passing all these packs through. And then, of course, the space science, and then one belt is actually shared space science in yellow. And this one is military in yellow, and it's kind of nicely shared there. So it's actually 2 belts of each science, or 1.5. So here's this bus, essentially. We have actually several buses. Here we have the coal bus, copper, and iron, a massive amount of lanes here going all the way up. And, you know, they kind of just come up here. And we also have pumps, because this is pumping like petroleum and stuff. And having pumps this often is pretty much required for this pipe distance. So these come out, you know, steel, here comes steel. Steel is going over, and it's going to merge into the main bus here. And as you can see, here we go. So this is ridiculous. We have circuits, you know, copper, steel, brick, all kind of stuff. What is this? This is pipe, gears, plastic, you know, all kinds of stuff. And we can actually look at the builds here if we'd like. Feeding a massive amount of circuits, of course, into the blue circuits through here. Has some smart controls here kind of to control like the output of stuff on these belts. And then these blue circuits are output. It looks like this outputs 1 full blue belt of blue circuits and comes all the way over and merges here. And then there's another blue build down here somewhere that will do the same thing. And then, of course, here we have the rocket, and all the rocket parts are made locally, which I think is really cool. We have, you know, the speed modules, which are going into the rocket control units, and then the low-density structures up here. And again, it's all mirrored, it's all matched, symmetrical. So there's that. And then the rocket fuel, of course, wasn't made locally. That's coming in via these belts, which is fed in. We have some nice lights here. All the parts for the satellites are right here. I really like these little designs as well on the concrete. You know, it just adds that extra visual aspect to the map. And yeah, I mean, all these builds are, it's just the same all the way around, so that like, you know, these blue circuits, they do go around, but there's going to be like more feeding into it, as you can see here. So it kind of just supplements it. Actually, this looks like this is pretty much just a massive looped bus is what this is. It's pretty much just a massive loop of a bus with all the inputs just feeding from each side. So here's the green circuit builds, which is pretty cool. A direct insertion, of course, with copper wire, you pretty much have to at this speed. And, you know, we have 2 belts of iron in, 2 belts of copper in, and I would imagine this is going to output 2 full belts of circuits, which it does. Perfect. And then some smarts here to kind of control, it looks like, the output flow of things. And so this one here, which is not very large, really, is outputting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 belts of circuits. And then, of course, it's just chewing through this iron and copper. And this factory, man, is just mind-blowing. I mean, looking at it, all these builds, it's so perfect. And I'm going to show you the power network. So I asked the creator of this, I asked Golga, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right. Pretty much, I asked about the power poles because I was really curious. And they said they did it initially with bots. So they had the bots put down the power poles in the builds. And then they manually went through and fixed every power pole the bots messed up, all the power lines, to create this. Like, this is actually one of the most satisfying parts of this factory. It's just mind-blowing. The amount of time... This save has 1,000 hours in it. They did say that a lot of it is just AFK time, just leaving it running like in the background. But they did estimate several hundred hours just building this, which is... I mean, I would be surprised. I mean, I'm impressed if it's less than 500 hours, because the work that went into this is insane. I mean, you will not find an out-of-place power line here. It's all square, all perfect, all lines up. It's like this is one of the most satisfying factories to look at I've ever seen. Just everything is perfect. And like I said, they did the bots initially, and then anything the bots messed up, because you know bots do kind of screw things up sometimes. And I mean, of course, you know, there's like this where, I mean, it kind of has to do that based on how you need to connect power. But even this, like, look at how perfectly these go in here around the rails. So they just fixed manually anything the bots messed up. Even the outposts are all perfectly done with power poles. As you can see here, this oil and such. It's just nuts. It's unbelievable how freaking awesome this base is. So let's turn this thing on. They haven't done a ton of research. They've done follower count 977 and worker robot speed up to 18. Now, I'm guessing the reason that they haven't done a ton is because he spent so much time working on it, and when it's running, it's at like 20 UPS or something. So they probably didn't do research while they were trying to work on it. But if we just knock out a mining prod, I mean, 6,000 science packs a minute, you can see this is 9,500. This is going to take less than a minute. And we can actually see these labs start to consume this. And I would imagine here the UPS is going to drop in a little bit. We may not actually be able to see it because there's so much backlog on these belts that it's going to take a while for all the builds to turn on and such, right? But if we look at this, we can see everything is starting to turn on. You can see the slow increment of production here. Science looks like it's kind of at about 3,000 a minute. For all I know, they may have calibrated this to only do like as much as is required, but it looks like it is steadily going up. And you can see that our UPS is in fact dropping. We're now at like a 54, 53 as things kick on. But I mean, knocking through mining productivity 96 at this speed in less than a minute is still quite impressive. And power, you can see it's going up. I'm guessing this probably uses like close to 30 gigawatts or more when this base is fully running, I'd imagine. We're now at a steady 50 UPS. Rockets should start launching at some point as well. But like I said, there is a massive buffer here on these belts. You know, these belts act as a gigantic buffer of materials. So it may take a little while. But if we just keep doing some research, hopefully we can see some rockets take off here. I'm going to see if I can notice any. They're still unloading the buffer that was in the silos as well, you have to keep in mind. I mean, this is, of course, consuming a lot. So, like, the yellow science packs, you can see, are definitely being consumed here at a decent rate. So here's military, which we aren't using, but here's some yellow science. So they're actually belting the cable, which is interesting. You almost have to with yellow science, and these belt builds, it's extremely difficult to create one that does direct insertion. But you can see all these guys are running. Power is now up to pretty much 26 gigawatts. These guys are just producing like crazy, merging all the way through here. And production should be going up. We are now at 5,000, slightly over 5,000 a minute science. 150, 160,000 iron, over 100,000 circuits a minute, 100,000 copper. If you look at the all-time, 7.5 billion iron, 4 billion copper, 3 billion circuits. I mean, I say they didn't do that much research. They did do a ton of research. That's not like, I'm not trying to like underwhelm this at all. I mean, this is a ton of research. Almost 1,000 follower count, at 100K each. And of course, this is not cheap either. We're just typically used to seeing like more of these two, being focused on. But yeah, I mean, it's not like this factory hasn't done anything by any means. You can just look at these production numbers. And I can only imagine the amount of materials that actually went into making the base itself. I mean, the amount of concrete, like look at this brick and concrete. They've done actually a very nice mixture of the two. And I mean, if we look, we can probably find in here, it's going to be quite high, I'd imagine, 250,000 brick here. I'm trying to find concrete. Or no, 250 million, I'm sorry. Dyslexic. 250 million brick. Of course, a lot of that is for science, for the furnaces, but I'm actually looking primarily for concrete, which should show up here. I might have missed it. They may have actually used the command for this, because it's not showing in production as far as I can tell, and it would be easily in the millions, I'd imagine. I mean, for this, I can't imagine doing this manually, so they probably used the command for this, which I think is totally fine. Yeah, because I don't see concrete in the production menu here at all. A search button would be really cool. 5 million. Oh, there we go. All-time 5.9K. This is obviously way more than that. Although actually, is this... Wait, which one? No, this is concrete. The majority of this is in fact concrete. So yeah, I'm guessing this was probably commanded in the concrete. We can see now we're below 40 UPS. Production is kicking up 5,500 science a minute, and things are really starting to kick on now. But yeah, so these guys actually, there may be like smarts that, they don't have it on auto launch, which is interesting. I wonder, that's probably intentional, I'd imagine. I'll just do this so we can see some rockets launch, but actually they may, I wonder if all these are not auto launch. They're probably not. Yeah, we're kind of running out of space science. But I mean, that's the main tour. You can actually download the save yourself if you want to take a look. I will link the Reddit post in the description, and then you can, the Reddit post has some more info the creator wrote, and then also it's like a link to like a big like Google image thing where you can just download the save, which is what I did. If you want to take a look yourself, it is extremely impressive. I'm blown away. Just massive props here to Goga for creating this monster. It's truly a beautiful factory to look at in pretty much every way, visually and even just production-wise. It's perfect. It's awesome. So I think that's going to do it for this tour, guys. I just wanted to show you this because I thoroughly enjoyed looking at it, and I wanted to let you guys take a look too. And yeah, it's super cool. Leave your thoughts down below. Any questions? I mean, this isn't my factory, so direct questions about the factory I can't answer, but anything else. And like I said, in the description, I will link to the Reddit post for this, where you can download the save and find some more information. But I think that'll do it. As always, thank you so much for watching. I do appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. And until next time, I look forward to seeing you all, and you take care.